I never expected to find anything in my parents' attic besides dust and memories. But there I was, 6 months after their funeral, discovering that even dust could hide secrets. My name is Casey, and I thought I was ready to finally sort through their belongings. Ryan, my boyfriend, had offered to help, but this felt like something I needed to do alone. Looking back, maybe I should have taken him up on it. The loose floorboard caught my attention when I dropped an old photo album, and it landed with an odd, hollow sound. I probably would have missed it otherwise. Too focused on getting through another box of Dad's old sweaters that still smelled faintly of his aftershave. What the hell? I muttered, running my fingers along the edge of the board. It lifted easily, revealing a small metal safe I'd never seen before. My heart started racing. In all the times I'd played up here as a kid, how had I never noticed this? The safe wasn't anything fancy, just a basic combination lock model you could buy at any hardware store. I sat back on my heels thinking, Mom's birthday? Their anniversary? After 3 failed attempts, I tried the date they bought this house. The lock clicked open. Inside was a single envelope, yellowed with age. My hands were shaking as I opened it and unfolded the letter inside. The handwriting was Dad's, but more hurried than his usual neat script. If you're reading this, something has happened to us. Henry knows what he did. Don't let him convince you otherwise. The truth is in the Milton files. I read it 3 more times, trying to make sense of it. Uncle Henry? The same uncle who'd helped arrange their funeral, who'd been bringing me dinner every Sunday since the accident. My phone buzzed, making me jump. A text from Henry himself. Still coming to dinner tomorrow night? Linda's making your favorite lasagna. I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the reply button. The Henry the First knew was the fun uncle who taught me to ride a bike, who helped me move into my first apartment. But Dad's words kept echoing in my head. Henry knows what he did. Sorry, not feeling well, I typed back. Rain check. His response came immediately. Of course, sweetheart. Feel better. Let me know if you need anything. The kindness in his message made my stomach twist. I folded the letter carefully and slipped it into my pocket, then replaced the floorboard. As I did, I noticed something else, a faint pencil marking on the wood. 2nd floor. Milton Legal. Dad's old law firm, where he'd worked for 20 years before the accident. 2nd floor. Was that where I'd find these Milton files? I grabbed my phone again and called Jenna, my best friend who still worked there as a paralegal. Hey, weird question. Do you know if they kept any of Dad's old files? Most were transferred when the firm merged, she said. But there's still some storage rooms upstairs. Why? Just trying to tie up loose ends, I lied. Any chance you could help me look through them sometime? There was a pause. Casey, are you okay? You sound strange. I'm fine, I said quickly. Just found some old papers that got me thinking. Well, I can probably get you in next week. But you'll have to clear it with the partners first. After we hung up, I sat in the attic surrounded by boxes of my parents' lives, feeling like I was looking at everything through a different lens. All those Sunday dinners with Henry and Linda, the way he'd stepped in to handle everything after the accident. Had it all been guilt? Or something worse? The sun was setting, casting long shadows through the attic windows. I should have been finishing up the sorting, but instead, I pulled out my laptop. Time to see what I could find about the weeks leading up to my parents' accident. Whatever Henry had done, whatever truth Dad wanted me to find, I was going to uncover it. I just hoped I was ready for what I might learn about my family in the process. I hadn't slept much since finding that note. 3 days of late-night internet searches and old newspaper articles had left me with bloodshot eyes and more questions than answers. Ryan noticed something was off the moment he walked into our apartment that evening. You look like hell, he said, setting down takeout bags on the kitchen counter. When's the last time you actually slept? I closed my laptop quickly, but not before he caught a glimpse of what I was reading. Are those accident reports? I hesitated, then pulled Dad's note from my pocket. I'd been carrying it everywhere, like a talisman. I need to show you something. Ryan read it twice, his expression growing more concerned with each pass. Casey, this could mean anything. Or nothing. Your dad wrote this how long ago? The paper's old, but does it matter? He knew something was wrong. He was trying to warn me about Henry. The same Henry who's been taking care of you since the accident? Ryan started unpacking the food, his movements more forceful than necessary. Who checks on you every week? That Henry. Maybe that's why he does it. Guilt. The word sounded hollow, even to me. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was onto something. I'm meeting Jenna at Milton Legal tomorrow. Dad's old files might tell us something. Ryan set down the containers and turned to face me. Us? I thought you had to work tomorrow. I called in sick. Jesus, essay. He ran a hand through his hair, something he only did when he was really frustrated. You can't keep doing this. You haven't been to the gym in weeks. You barely sleep, and now you're skipping work. This is important, I snapped. They were my parents, Ryan. If someone did something to them, they died in a car accident. His voice rose, then immediately softened when he saw me flinch. A terrible, tragic accident. But this obsession isn't healthy. It's like you're trying to create a mystery where there isn't one. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. You don't understand. Then help me understand. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're throwing away everything good in your life to chase shadows. The silence that followed felt like a physical thing between us. Ryan moved toward me, his face softening. Look, I love you, and I want to help. But you have to let me in. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Henry. Haven't heard from you in a few days. Everything okay? My hands started shaking. Ryan noticed. What is it? It's him. He keeps checking on me. I showed Ryan the message. Don't you think that's suspicious? I think it's what family does, Ryan said quietly. They check on each other. Another text came through. Linda and I are worried. Dylan mentioned he hasn't seen you at the gym either. Want to grab coffee tomorrow? Dylan. My cousin. Of course he'd noticed my absence. We usually did morning workouts together. The thought of facing either of them right now made my stomach turn. I can't deal with this right now, I muttered, turning off my phone. I need to focus on tomorrow. Those files aren't going anywhere, Ryan interrupted. But I might be. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? I can't watch you destroy yourself over this. His voice was gentle but firm. Either let me help you work through this properly or... He left the alternative hanging in the air between us. Part of me wanted to give in, to let him hold me and tell me everything would be okay. But Dad's words kept echoing in my head. Henry knows what he did. I need to know the truth, I said finally. With or without you. Ryan stared at me for a long moment, then grabbed his keys from the counter. Call me when you're ready to talk about what's really going on here. The door closed behind him with a soft click that somehow hurt more than if he'd slammed it. I looked at the abandoned takeout containers, then at my laptop screen still showing the accident report photos. Tomorrow, I'd find those Milton files. Tomorrow, I'd start getting answers. But tonight, sitting alone in my kitchen with cold Chinese food and the weight of Dad's note in my pocket, I wondered if Ryan was right about what I might be losing in the process. The Milton legal storage room smelled like old paper and broken dreams. Jenna had gotten me in early, before the regular staff arrived, but we'd been here for hours with nothing to show for it. These are mostly just routine contracts, Jenna said, closing another dusty box. Your dad was thorough, I'll give him that. Every document's perfectly filed. I rubbed my tired eyes. There has to be something. The note specifically mentioned Milton files. Casey. Jenna hesitated. Maybe Ryan's right. Maybe. Don't. I cut her off, pulling another box from the shelf. Not you too. The box was labeled Personal JL, my dad's initials. Inside, beneath a stack of manila folders, I found a thick envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it. Oh my God, I whispered. Bank statements. Loan documents. A series of emails between Dad and Henry. As I read, the pieces started falling into place. A failed investment, a desperate cover-up, and nearly $500,000 gone. Casey. Jenna moved closer. What is it? He ruined them, I said, my voice shaking. Henry convinced Dad to invest everything in some development project. When it failed, he forged Dad's signature on new loans to cover the losses. They were drowning in debt when they died. Jenna took the papers, scanning them quickly. This is serious. If these documents are real, they're real. I grabbed my phone, pulling up the accident report photos I'd been obsessing over. Look at the date of the last loan. 3 days before the crash. They were driving back from the bank when it happened. The implications hit me like a physical blow. Had they been distracted? Upset? Was Henry responsible for more than just their financial ruin? My phone buzzed, another text from Henry. Linda's worried sick. Please come to dinner tonight. We need to talk. Something inside me snapped. You know what? Fine. Let's talk. Casey, wait. Jenna reached for my arm, but I was already heading for the door. Make copies of everything, I called back. I'm going to need them. The drive to Henry's house was a blur. Every Sunday dinner, every family gathering, every time he'd played the caring uncle, it all felt like a lie now. I barely registered parking or walking to the door. Linda answered, her face lighting up. Casey, we've been so worried. Where is he? Henry appeared behind her, smile fading as he saw my expression. Casey? What's wrong? I pushed past them both into the living room, throwing the envelope onto the coffee table. Want to explain these? Henry's face went pale as he looked at the documents. Linda picked up one of the loan papers, her hand going to her mouth. Henry, what is this? It's not what you think, he started, but I cut him off. Really? Because I think you convinced Dad to invest everything in your failed project. I think when it went under, you forged his signature to cover your tracks. I think you watched them struggle with debt you created, and then they died driving back from cleaning up your mess. Casey, please. Linda reached for me, but I stepped back. Was the accident really an accident? My voice cracked. Or were they just too distracted by the financial nightmare you created? That's enough. Henry's shout made us both jump. For a moment, I saw something in his eyes. Not guilt, but fear. You don't understand what happened. Your father. Don't you dare blame him for this. I was trying to help them. Henry's composure cracked. The investment was supposed to set everyone up for life. When it failed, he ran a hand over his face. I couldn't let them lose everything. The loans were temporary, just until I could fix things. But you never fixed anything, did you? I picked up the papers, hands shaking. You just watched them drown. The front door opened, and Dylan walked in, freezing at the scene before him. What's going on? I looked at my cousin, at Henry's son, and saw the confusion in his eyes. How much did he know? How many other lives had Henry's lies touched? Ask your father, I said quietly, heading for the door. Ask him what really happened to my parents. Behind me, I heard Linda's soft crying, Dylan's questions, and Henry's desperate, Casey, wait. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. The truth was finally out, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like losing my family all over again. My boss's voice droned on through the speakerphone, but I could barely focus on his words. 3 weeks had passed since the confrontation at Henry's house, and my life was unraveling like a cheap sweater. Casey? Are you even listening? I snapped back to attention. Yes, sorry. The Richardson account has been reassigned, along with your other major clients. He sighed. Look, I understand you're going through something, but this isn't the first deadline you've missed. Take some time off. Get yourself together. The call ended before I could respond. I stared at my phone, then at the stack of unopened mail on my kitchen counter. Another missed payment notice peeked out from beneath the takeout menu. My doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Dylan shifting nervously in the hallway. I hadn't spoken to him since that night, but the look on his face made me open the door. Hey, he said quietly. Can we talk? I let him in, watching as he took in my apartment. Unwashed dishes, case files spread across every surface. Laptop showing more financial records I'd dug up. Mom's a mess, he said finally. Dad barely leaves his office. Whatever you found. The truth, I cut in.
You found the truth.
Did you? Dylan picked up one of the files. Because I've been doing some digging too. That investment. Dad wasn't the only one pushing for it. Your father was the one who brought him the opportunity in the first place. The words hit me like a slap. You're lying. I found the original proposal in Dad's office. Uncle Jack's signature, his handwriting. He was convinced it would work. Dylan's voice softened. When it failed, Dad tried to protect him. The loans were meant to buy time until the market recovered. Stop it. My hands were shaking. Dad wouldn't. He was human, Casey. He made mistakes. Dylan set down the file. Just like Dad did, trying to cover them up. Just like you're doing now. I looked around my apartment, really seeing it for the first time in weeks. Empty coffee cups. Takeout containers. A text from Ryan I still hadn't answered. I miss you. Please talk to me. You need to see something, Dylan said, pulling out his phone. He pulled up a video, security footage from what looked like a parking garage. This was the day before the accident. My father appeared on screen, meeting Henry between parked cars. There was no audio, but their body language told the story. Dad, shoulders slumped in defeat. Henry, gesturing emphatically, then pulling Dad into a hug. He was trying to help, Dylan said softly. They both were. It just went wrong. My phone buzzed. Jenna calling. Probably about the other documents I'd asked her to track down. Documents that suddenly felt like weights around my neck. When's the last time you went to the gym? Dylan asked. Or saw Ryan? Or did anything besides chase this? I can't just let it go, I whispered, but the words sounded hollow, even to me. No one's asking you to. But this vendetta. He gestured at the chaos around us. It's destroying you. And it won't bring them back. My phone buzzed again, a text from my boss about HR paperwork. Another from my landlord about late rent. The walls of evidence I'd built suddenly felt like they were closing in. I don't know how to stop, I admitted, my voice cracking. Dylan stepped closer, and for a moment I saw our childhood reflected in his eyes. Summers by the pool, family barbecues. Dad and Henry teaching us to fish. All the memories I'd been rewriting as lies. Start by coming home, he said. Not to confront anyone. Just come to Sunday dinner. Talk to Mom. Let us be a family again. I can't face him. Then face yourself first. Dylan headed for the door, pausing with his hand on the knob. You're not the only one who lost something that day, Casey. But you might be the only one still choosing to lose more. He left me standing in my chaos, staring at the paused video of my father and Henry. The truth I'd been chasing was there in that grainy footage, not in the documents or bank statements, but in that simple moment of two brothers trying to protect each other. The question was, what was I trying to protect by holding on to my anger? The coffee shop was neutral ground, not Henry's territory, not mine. I'd chosen it carefully, somewhere public enough to keep us both civil. When he walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. The past month had aged him years. Thank you for meeting me, he said, sliding into the booth. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by something more fragile. I placed Dad's note on the table between us. I want to understand. Henry stared at the paper for a long moment. Jack wrote this the day I told him about the second round of losses. He was angry. Scared. Did you forge his signature on those loans? Yes. The admission came quietly, but not for the reasons you think. The market was going to turn around. I just needed time to. To what? Watch them drown in debt while you protected yourself. A young couple at the next table glanced over. Henry leaned forward, lowering his voice. I was protecting everyone. Your father's reputation, the family name, your future inheritance. My inheritance? I laughed bitterly. I inherited nothing but questions and a house full of memories. Casey. Henry reached for his pocket, pulled out an envelope. There's something you need to see. Inside was another security video still, different from the one Dylan showed me. This one showed Dad at what looked like an ATM, the timestamp just hours before the accident. What is this? The last withdrawal he made. $20,000. Henry's hands trembled slightly. He was coming to pay off one of the loans early. Against my advice. The roads were icy that night, but he insisted. The implication hit me like a physical blow. If Henry hadn't pushed them into those loans. Stop, I whispered, but he continued. I live with it every day. Every Sunday dinner, every family gathering. Watching you grieve, wanting to explain but knowing nothing I could say would make it right. A text lit up my phone, Ryan. I'm here if you need me. Always. I turned the phone face down. Why show me this now? Because you deserve the truth. All of it. Henry pulled out another document. This was your father's last email to me. I've never shown anyone. The timestamp was 9:47 p.m., just over an hour before the accident. Henry, I know you were trying to protect me. That's what brothers do. But I need to fix this myself. For Casey's future. For our family's honor. We'll talk tomorrow. Jack. My vision blurred. He knew. About everything. He figured it out. Was coming to confront me about the forged signatures. Henry's voice cracked. I never got the chance to apologize. The barista called out someone's order, the normality of it jarring against the weight of this moment. Outside, life went on, people walking past, living their lives, unaware of how the ground was shifting beneath my feet. I wanted someone to blame, I said finally. It was easier than accepting it was just an accident. We all did. Henry stood slowly. Your father was a better man than me. He chose forgiveness over revenge. Maybe he knew something we didn't. As he turned to leave, I saw something fall from his pocket, an old photograph. I picked it up, Dad and Henry as teenagers, arms around each other, grinning at the camera. On the back, in Dad's handwriting, "Brothers, for better or worse." "Keep it," Henry said quietly. "Maybe it'll help you remember them as they were, not as we've made them in our grief." He left me sitting there, staring at the photo, the email, the ATM still. All these pieces of a puzzle I'd been trying to solve, only to find the picture was different than I'd imagined. My phone buzzed again. "Dylan, this time, you okay?" I looked at the empty coffee cup in front of me, at the note that had started all this. Dad's words seemed different now. Henry knows what he did. Was it an accusation, or a burden he was sharing with his brother? The truth wasn't in the documents or the bank statements. It was in that photograph, in that final email, in the choices both brothers made trying to protect each other and me. The question was, what choice would I make now? Sunday, dinner felt like walking into a minefield. Linda had insisted I come, saying we needed to heal as a family, but the tension around the dining room table was thick enough to cut with a knife. Dylan sat beside me, picking at his food. Across the table, Henry stared at his plate like it held answers to questions no one dared ask. Linda fluttered between us, filling silences with nervous chatter about the weather, her garden, anything but what we were all thinking about. "I found more documents," I said suddenly, the words escaping before I could stop them. The clatter of silverware stopped. "In Dad's old briefcase." "Casey," Dylan warned, but I continued. "There were other investments, weren't there? Before the one that ruined everything." I pulled out a folded paper, watching Henry's face. "Dad covered for you. Multiplichimis." Linda's hand froze halfway to her water glass. "Henry, it wasn't like that," Henry started, but I cut him off. "Then what was it like?" "Because these show a pattern. Years of you taking risks with other people's money, and Dad cleaning up your messes. You don't understand." "Then make me understand." My voice cracked. "Because I've spent months trying to figure out why my father would trust you after everything, and now I find out it wasn't the first time." Henry stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "You want to understand? Fine. Your father and I made a pact when our own father died. We'd protect each other, no matter what. Every investment, every risk. It was for both our families." "Henry, don't," Linda pleaded, but he continued. "You think I didn't know what I was doing? I was trying to give us all the life we deserved. Your father understood that. He forgave me because he knew I was trying to protect our legacy." "Your legacy." I laughed bitterly. "Your legacy is my parents dying on an icy road, trying to fix your mistakes." The silence that followed was deafening. Linda's quiet sobs filled the room. Dylan reached for my hand under the table, but I pulled away. "Casey," Henry's voice was barely a whisper. "There's something else you need to know." He disappeared into his study, returning with a worn envelope. Inside was a life insurance policy, Dad's. The beneficiary line made my blood run cold. Henry's name, not mine. "He changed it the week before the accident," Henry said. "Said if anything happened to him, I'd need it to protect you. To make things right." The room started spinning. All this time, I'd been searching for proof of Henry's betrayal, only to find evidence of my father's trust in him, a trust that went deeper than I'd imagined. "I never cashed it in," Henry continued. "Couldn't bring myself to. The money's still there in a trust. For you." Linda reached across the table. "We've been waiting for the right time to tell you." "There is no right time." I stood up so fast my chair toppled backward. "You've had this for months, watching me struggle, watching me search for answers. Because you weren't ready to hear them." Henry's composure finally cracked. "You wanted someone to blame. I let you blame me because it was easier than the truth, that your father died trying to protect everyone, including me. The weight of it all crashed down on me. The note in the safe. The loans. The insurance policy. My father's final email. All pieces of a puzzle I'd forced into the wrong shape, desperate to find villains instead of seeing the complicated truth." "Primekant." I stumbled backward, bumping into the china cabinet. Photos rattled. Family vacations, holidays, moments frozen in time when everything made sense. "I can't be here. Casey, please." Dylan started to stand, but I was already moving. I just need." I didn't finish the sentence. Couldn't. The front door was my only escape from the suffocating weight of revelations I wasn't prepared for. Behind me, I heard Linda calling my name, Henry's heavy sigh, Dylan's footsteps. But I kept running out into the night, away from a truth that was far more painful than any lie I'd imagined. Because in the end, There were no villains in this story, just family, trying and failing to protect each other in all the wrong ways. I ended up at my parents' house, fumbling with the key in the dark. The attic seemed like the only place left to hide from the truth, or maybe to finally face it. I didn't expect to find Ryan waiting on the porch. Dylan called, he said simply. Said you might need someone. I brushed past him into the house, but he followed. The beam of my phone's flashlight caught the dust motes in the air as I climbed the attic stairs, Ryan's footsteps heavy behind me. Casey, stop. Jess, stop for a minute. I can't. I moved to the loose floorboard where this had all started. There has to be something else. Something that explains. Explains what? Why your father trusted his brother. Why he chose forgiveness over revenge. You don't understand, I snapped, prying up the board. The safe was still there, empty now except for dust and memories. Then help me understand. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're the only one still fighting a war that's already over. A car pulled up outside, headlights sweeping across the attic windows. Footsteps on the porch. Then Henry's voice, Casey, don't. Ryan warned as I started toward the stairs, but I was already moving. Henry stood in the living room, holding a small box I'd never seen before. Linda told me I'd find you here. Get out. Not until you see this. He set the box on the coffee table. Your father left it with me the day before the accident. Said if anything happened, I should wait until you were ready. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter, dated the night before the crash, and a USB drive. He recorded everything, Henry said quietly. Every conversation, every decision we made together. He knew someday you'd need to understand. I plugged the drive into my laptop and suddenly Dad's voice filled the room. Casey, if you're watching this, it means things didn't work out the way Henry and I planned. I need you to know something about family. The video showed Dad in his office, looking tired but determined. Your uncle and I made mistakes. Big ones. But every decision, every risk, it was about protecting our family's future. Your future. Henry's actions might seem wrong to you now, but he was following a promise we made years ago. A promise I asked him to keep. I sank onto the couch, the weight of months of anger suddenly unbearable. Why didn't you show me this before? Because you needed to find your own way to the truth, Henry said. Just like your father did with me. He could have exposed my mistakes years ago, but he chose understanding over vengeance. Chose family. Ryan moved closer, his hand finding my shoulder. On the screen, Dad continued, the hardest part of family isn't loving each other. It's forgiving each other when love isn't enough. Henry will carry the weight of our choices forever. Don't let him carry your anger too. The video ended, leaving us in silence. Henry pulled out one final document, the insurance policy. It's yours, he said. It always was. I was just waiting for you to be ready to understand why he left it to me first. Looking at Henry now, I saw what I'd been missing. The grief etched in his face, the weight of secrets kept not out of malice but love. The same love that had driven Dad to protect him, even in death. I don't know how to let go, I whispered. Neither did your father at first, Henry said. But he learned that holding on to anger only hurts the people still here. He moved toward the door, pausing. Sunday dinners aren't the same without you. After he left, Ryan sat beside me, the box of revelations between us. What now? I looked at the empty safe under the floorboard, then at Dad's frozen image on the laptop screen. The truth I'd been searching for had been there all along, not in documents or bank statements, but in the complicated ways family chooses to love and protect each other. Now, I said, closing the laptop, I think it's time to go home. The cemetery was quiet in the early morning light. I hadn't been back since the funeral, but today felt different. Ryan waited in the car, giving me space, while I made my way to my parents' headstone with fresh flowers and the weight of understanding finally settling in my chest. I found your note, I said softly, arranging the flowers. Took me a while to understand what you were trying to tell me. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves overhead. In the distance, I could see Henry's car pulling up beside Ryan's. We'd planned this, one final conversation, one last piece to put in place. Henry approached slowly, carrying his own flowers. Neither of us spoke as he placed them next to mine. The morning sun caught the silver in his hair, and for the first time, I saw how much he looked like Dad in profile. I've been thinking about what to do with the insurance money, I said finally. Henry tensed slightly. It's yours too. I want to start a scholarship. In both your names. I turned to face him. For families struggling with debt. Something good should come from all this. The surprise in his eyes gave way to something deeper. Understanding, maybe even pride. Jack would have liked that. There's something else. I pulled out an envelope. The last piece of this puzzle we'd been struggling with for months. I found this in Dad's old briefcase. It's a letter he wrote to you, never sent. Henry's hands shook as he opened it. I'd memorized the words by now. Brother, some debts can't be measured in dollars. The greatest one I owe you is for always putting family first, even when it cost you everything. Take care of my girl. She'll understand someday. He knew, Henry whispered. All along, he knew what I was trying to do. He understood family better than either of us. I touched the headstone gently. Sunday dinner is at 6, right? Henry looked up, hope flickering across his face. Linda's making pot roast. Ryan and I will be there. I paused, then added, Uncle Henry? Yes. I understand now too. He nodded, unable to speak. We stood there a moment longer, the morning sun warming our backs, before he turned and walked away, leaving me with my parents and the peace I'd finally found. Back at the car, Ryan opened his door but didn't get in. You okay? Getting there. I looked back at the cemetery, thinking about the path that had led me here. Dad left me a roadmap, you know? In that note, in the videos, in everything he did. I just had to learn how to read it. And did you? Figure it out. I thought about Sunday dinners, about Dylan's gym sessions I'd missed, about Linda's worried calls, about Henry carrying the weight of secrets and love in equal measure, about Dad choosing forgiveness even when it wasn't easy. I took Ryan's hand, feeling its warmth against the morning chill. I think I finally understand what Dad meant about family. It's not about keeping score or settling debts. It's about choosing to love people even when it's complicated, even when it hurts. Ryan squeezed my hand. Your dad would be proud of you. Maybe. I smiled slightly, but I think he'd be prouder that I finally learned to let go. As we drove away, I caught one last glimpse of the headstone in the rearview mirror. The note that had started everything was still in my pocket. But it felt different now, less like an accusation and more like a father's final lesson about love, forgiveness, and the complicated ways we protect the people who matter most. Henry's car was already gone, probably heading home to tell Linda and Dylan about the scholarship, about new beginnings, about how sometimes the best way to honor the past is to build something better from its ashes. Ready? Ryan asked as we turned onto the main road. I thought about Sunday dinner waiting ahead, about family, both the one I'd lost and the one I was choosing to keep, about the future stretching out before us, complicated and beautiful and full of possibilities. Yeah, I said. I'm ready.